Good evening, everyone, and welcome yet again to another Friday Night Live here, July the 11th, 2025, with the Page crew. I'm Phil, Director of Operations for Page, and joining me this evening is Jen up here to my right and Ron up here to my left. As you can see, our fantastic friend Ed can't join us this evening. That's okay. He's, like Ron likes to say, he's on assignment. He's on special assignment. But we've got a great show for you this evening. Let's check in with the rest of the gang. Jen, how are we this evening?
Wonderful. It is Friday night and the weekend is here, and that means I can relax.
That's right. Yes. And Ron, looking closely again, I don't know, unless you put a mystery door in the back of the Page office, I think you might be somewhere else.
I am in Pittsburgh right now, and I will not be returning home until tomorrow. So we are streaming live from a hotel room again. So we've had a few live streams from hotel rooms. We had one from a cruise ship, and now we're back in the Drury Hotel here in Pittsburgh.
You gotta make do, right? You just have to make do with what you got.
Yep, exactly right. But I think we're all right. I think we've gotten that. I think we've gotten over some of the technical hurdles that we had when we first started this. So it works out very well.
Indeed. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we have on the docket for this evening. We are going to be joined by two folks this evening, and who we're going to start off with, I can't remember. The person whose name starts with M, or the person whose name starts with D?
You all right? Are you sure you're prepared for this show? Tonight we have author Matt Shoemaker with us. He's not only an author, he's a gaming historian, and he's a member of our staff. And we also have David Johnson, aka FX or DJ FX, aka Randy Macho Man Strad, with us, and we're happy to have them both. We're gonna kick things off by bringing Matt Shoemaker on board, and look at that. There's Matt Shoemaker. Welcome, Matt.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt. Well, Matt, thanks for joining us. We are definitely excited to have you join us on staff again for Page 3. And we also wanted to talk a little bit about your role with Page. But then as the conversation goes on, we do want to talk a little bit about something that's pretty exciting, something that you've been working on, I think, for quite a while now. And that you are right on the cusp, if you will, right on the cliff's edge of releasing this to the masses. And so we do want to talk about that. Going back to your staff role with Page, let's talk a little bit about that. So what role do you fill, and what have you been working on?
Yeah, so there's two pieces I've been helping Page with primarily. The first was I was on the committee that helped pick out the dice for Page this year. So that was a small role, but a fun one. So if you like the dice, I don't take all the credit for that, but I'm happy to take part of it. And the other, and frankly more important part, is that I'm helping out with Page's diversity and inclusion initiatives. There's several different things we're doing with that to try to boost, different types of attendees coming to this convention.
Yes, and the committee, you and the rest of the committee members have been diligently working on that, and we have definitely found some success because of the fruits of your labors, and so that is reflected in a number of things. Whether it is the special guests that we have invited, the seminars and panels, and other outreach efforts that we are trying to with schools and universities. Rome was not built in a day, so we're going to just keep chipping away on those goals. So we do appreciate your efforts with that and the other members of the committee. So let's talk about the book, shall we? Let's talk about the book, A Gathering of Gamers. What is Gathering of Gamers, Matt? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I do a lot of game history. I've worked with several documentaries on the history of Dungeons and Dragons. I've helped out authors like John Peterson with research on their gaming histories, as well as I've done several convention histories for both Gen Con and most recently Origins. And what this book is kind of the grand history of tabletop gaming in the United States through the Gen Con gaming convention. So it looks at the history of tabletop gaming from 1967 up through 2022 and goes all the way back to when, the very first gaming convention that was big pushed by Avalon Hill happened not that far from Philadelphia here, out in Malvern, PA, just a short drive away. And then the following year after that one in 1967, it kind of bloomed into Gen Con out in the Midwest in Wisconsin. And this book really covers, not just what happens at Gen Con, but gaming in general, how RPGs grew out, how board games grew out, how things like LARPs and mega games came into fruition. It covers the reasons that European board gaming styles came apart differently from American style board games. Covers bankruptcies that happened, conflicts between conventions. There's a lot of drama between some conventions that's taken place over the years, and all sorts of different aspects of just, gaming history.
And how long would you say you have been doing this type of work that has led up to the book?
Yeah, so I first got into gaming history back in 2012 when I got attached as an archivist and researcher for a documentary on the history of Dungeons and Dragons. And then since then, I've been working on several other projects. But the one that led up to this project was primarily a project I did back over 2016, 2017 for Gen Con's 50th anniversary, which took place in 2017, where working with my day job at Temple University, we created a website which took all of Gen Con's programs from all 50 years and digitized them and made the events available online so we could do analyses to see kind of how gaming has changed over the years based on the events out of Gen Con's programs. Because there's a lot you can learn about how gaming has changed over the years based on conventions, what people are playing every year, what was popular, how events were described, things like that. So, yep, go ahead.
I'm curious, is there anything, one or two things that popped out from examining the events list that might be a little surprising or interesting?
The first one is just the fact that D&D dominates probably isn't a surprise, but by how much it dominates probably does. Like there were many years up until even very recently where there would be several thousand Dungeons and Dragons events running a convention, and the game with the second most events, which might be something like Call of Cthulhu, depending on the year, only had like a dozen. Like it was really just dramatic by how many more Dungeons and Dragons games were played overall.
We've even seen that, with our fledgling convention here, we're just, D&D games, especially D&D 5th edition, despite the fact that we have so many old school creators and so many old school attendees, from the collector's market, D&D 5th edition would carry the day. And it's again, what happened to Phil? Must be that Redding internet. But this year, D&D 5th edition is still, the most numerous event type at the convention. But Shadow Dark is giving it a run for its money. I mean, Shadow Dark, we have quite a few events there, and we've never had anything even rival the D&D numbers, but Shadow Dark's doing a very good job of that this year, which is, I think it signals that, maybe people are looking for a little bit of a shift.
I mean, that could be the case. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible that people are looking for a different type of game. I mean, it also definitely helps that like Kelsey comes to the con and pushes Shadow Dark and helps promote that as well. But yeah, Shadow Dark is definitely getting popular at other conventions as well. I'm really curious to see how that changes over time with just conventions in general, seeing how other games like Shadow Dark and things do. One thing I did examine in the book was that whole kind of rise of Pathfinder that took place about 15 years ago, and see how that was in D&D. And D&D ultimately did win out for various reasons in that. But there's many games that want to claim to be the D&D killer, but can any of them actually do it? I don't know. We will have to see what happens. Only time will tell.
Well, Daggerheart's doing pretty good right now.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I mean, listen, there's a reason why Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano and Muhammad Ali were the heavyweight champions for so long. And there was always some contender that was going to come up and knock them off. But generally, it didn't happen until Father Time catches up. And, maybe 50 years, maybe Father Time's catching up a little bit.
Yeah. Not to get into the weeds with this too much, even though it is a fantastically interesting conversation, but like just very, very recently with some news that literally just came out this week with WotC's plans to dedicate more time to a franchising model with the IP, with a lot of folks leaving, some of the upper echelon design folks that have left and gotten scooped up by some these other companies. I'm very curious. I'm personally very curious in the next 3 years or so whether that is going to actually, is it a ripple or is it the beginning of something bigger, as the company itself that controls D&D decides to like maybe shift away a little bit and concentrate more on like licensing products and like t-shirts and beach towels and things like that versus actually putting emphasis into the game itself. So anyway, very interesting thought experiment. We'll see. So, all right. So Matt, are you participating in any events or running any events at Page 3?
Yeah, I'm running 2 different events. So they're both on Saturday. I forget the exact times. I believe the one that's going to be based kind of on my research for the book is I believe 2:00. And it's going to be kind of a seminar event where I talk about the role gaming conventions have played in game history, basically ever since the 60s. The other event, now that I'm done with the book, I'm getting back to some of my more game design roots. So if you don't know, I own a board game publishing company, Hit 'em with a Shoe. I've published several games, and I'm going to get back to working on some of that now that I'm done with the book. So one thing I'm working on is that I've been in talks with one of the original Bunnies and Burrows creators, Scott Robinson, about possibly creating a kind of a honeybee themed RPG. So we're going to run a session of that at 10 a.m. on Saturday if you want to join. The game is very much in progress, but if you want to try a game that tries to get you to think like kind of a super organism, a collective of individuals rather than just a single being, and see what you might do as a honeybee living in the world in an RPG setting, it'll be something to try out. I think it'll be a fun time that you might like.
That sounds really interesting.
Is there a potential name for this game, or still working?
So yeah, that's TBD.
TBD. Okay. All right.
I believe the event is called For the Good of the Hive. Excuse me, For the Good of the Hive, if I remember correctly.
I think Honey Heist is already taken, so you probably can't use that.
That game, that concept sounds very interesting. One of my favorite board games is an older game called Ant Wars, and you basically red ants and black ants battling for territory in the backyard, so to speak. So, and that's a Jason McAllister game, and everybody knows Jason McAllister. Probably more so for things like Titan and things like that, but very interesting game itself. So, so Matt, don't mean to put you on the spot, but being a game convention historian and being involved, being at the first 2 pages, can we count on you to kind of be the archivist for what we're doing over the years here?
Oh, I would love to do that. So yes, I think that is a thing. I just need access to records, and I'm in the thick of it being on staff, but I obviously don't get the whole story. So
right. So what I can do is I can start getting you over some of the on-site program books.
Yeah.
we have hard copies of those and things like that. Maybe the guest lists for year over year might be a good place to start. But we can talk about that offline. That would be great, though. Jen, do you have any questions for Matt?
I do. Going back to your book, can you give us the top takeaways that you have found through all of your research?
Yeah, so there's a couple. The two I think I'll talk about is the first is that gaming demographics are definitely changing over time. We have more women and people of color and other things coming to gaming conventions, coming to gaming in general. And this has been particularly true in the past 15 years or so. And I think that's only going to continue to grow. So it's important for game designers and conventions to try to reach out to these new audiences and work for it. It's something I'm passionate about, and partially why I'm having a page on their diversity and inclusion initiatives. The other thing I've found is that part of the reason gaming has gotten so big and conventions have gotten so big in the past 20, 25 years is because of the state of the world. There have been several studies that have gone on that when things happen like 9/11, economic crashes, or just other things that make people feel uneasy about their life at home, they reach towards activities that they can do in person with family and friends. And this is something that they can really come together to do at gaming conventions and at tabletop games at their own homes. So, I know there's a lot of unease in the world out right now. I don't want to, be a downer to the show or something like that. But, if people aren't feeling safe at home, they're going to retreat to gaming to make themselves feel better. And they're going to retreat to gaming conventions to do the same. I would predict for the short term, at least, that shows like Page and everything like that are going to be just another source of comfort for more and more people year after year.
Yeah, that's what I've always found. I tried Page 2 last year and absolutely loved it, and now I'm kind of addicted. So another question I had was, what's your favorite system to play?
Oh, for RPGs? I'm a gaming omnivore. I love miniatures games. I love war games. I love board games. I love RPGs. I have to say right now, as a father of two toddlers, I kind of default to 5e, but that's not necessarily because it's my favorite system. It's more just it's the easiest one to get to the table and play. I've also been trying and failing to get a lot of the Star Wars D6 system to the table lately. I've tried running one of that, but it's something I'm sure many of you have found it being a problem is just getting people over for game night sometimes isn't always the easiest. So that's been failing. I've also enjoyed games like Shadow Dark and other things out of the OSR. When it comes down to it, I play the most D&D 5e, but I really love a lot of different game systems. It's hard to pick a favorite.
Yeah, that's true. I love trying new stuff. We actually just got Dune, and we're going to be trying that soon along with Nimble. So I'm excited.
Yeah, those should be a good time.
Matt, we're going to have to get a list of what your board game company produces so we can go ahead and purchase some of those from you and get them into our board game library at Page, because that thing's growing every day by leaps and bounds. Every week it seems like we're adding a dozen more games to it. So it just seemed natural to have a staffer's products, to buy them and put them in the board game library. So we'll have to get together on that soon.
Yeah, sure. Just talk to me about it. I would love to get them in there. I'm kind of surprised I haven't already suggested it, but I guess I've just been too focused writing this book, to be honest. It's taken a lot of my time the past couple of years I've been working on it. So
well, you're involved in the doing, not the selling. That's what it is. So
yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
But what we're going to do now is we have two guests tonight, and interestingly, the second guest is also fancies himself a gaming historian as well. And we're going to bring David Johnson on. We're going to have Matt with us here. And as the show continues, for those who are watching, whether it be on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, feel free to shoot questions into the chat and we'll get them out there. We try to put them up there on the screen. So as they come in, But we're going to go ahead and bring DJ in. But if you have questions for Matt, shoot them over. All right. And we'll Matt's going to be engaged in the conversation. So let's see here. Got to hit the little toggle button. And look, it's DJ.
Hey, guys. Good to be here.
How are you?
How's it going, Ron?
It's going very well. And DJ, you're back. You were one of the first people involved with Page, which a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah. In fact, I created the logo for it.
Yeah, you did.
Fantastic logo.
Thank you.
Well, you know how that came.
Ron's rough. He gave you a rough, and
yeah. Well, we can go back to the reason why, because just recently I posted the picture of the little art mock-up I made using Microsoft Paint, and
it was perfection.
Yeah, I was showing it to DJ because he was one of the ones, along with Daniel Lawrence, who were in on the initial discussions of this in the fall of 22. And I showed it to him, and he went politely, he goes, "Oh, that's very nice. You mind if I take a try?" So it was very, very interesting. DJ, while you've been in the back, where you were in the back in the green room enjoying, all the food and drinks that we put back there for our guests, did you get your swag bag when you were back there?
For page 2 or for page 1?
I'm talking about the show's green room, but
the virtual green room that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's the problem with doing these on Friday night. I mean, I think people tie a few on before they come on the program. I mean, even Jenn does before we get on. So
it's only one shot.
Okay.
You're never going to let me forget it.
No, but Matt is a historian, and he's operating on the highest levels of that within the hobby. But you're one of the executive producers for 50 Years of Fantasy, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I got involved with those guys pretty early on. They came in. I'll tell you how that started. They put a sort of a call out on one of the D&D Facebook groups for if anyone has a collection of old stuff, and I do. I have my D&D. I have a whole D&D room right over there, and I collect largely like first and second edition stuff and 5e. And I have a pretty cool looking D&D room. So they came to film at the house, and I put on a game for them. I did the Macho Man Randy Stroud game, and it was the first D&D game Chris had ever played. And I just kind of kept going with them. So yeah, I'm one of the executive producers now.
And you also maintain a timeline of sorts of TSR products.
Yeah, I can show it off. So yeah, I consider myself a bit of a just sort of amateur historian. I don't have any published books or anything out there, but if this shows up, I think it's there we are. So I created this. This is online right now. In fact, I will put a link to it in the chat. It takes a little while to load in because it is a ton of data, but this is an interactive, live, zoomable publishing timeline of every single D&D product that TSR ever put out for first and second edition, and a few other bonuses going back to Chainmail in 1974. I kind of consider that part of D&D because the OD&D box set sort of says see Chainmail for the combat rules, and then just through time as every to the at least year, if not month accurate dates for every single module, accessory, map, trail map that they put out. So this was kind of fun to poke around. It's also got, I had all of the Dragon magazines in here from the first to the last one they published. I took some of them out because this thing was just starting to lag, but I've got the Endless Quest books in here, the D&D video games. If you didn't know, this was the first Dungeons and Dragons video game, which I have sitting right over there. And part of the reason I created this was for my home game. We're doing, I call it the Savannah Vintage series. We're streaming it live, and the basic idea was, I had a lot of these books as a kid, but never really played them. And then my parents threw them out in the Satanic Panic. So when I started collecting again and I'm buying them up, I'm like, man, I've got these books and I just love the cover art so much, but I never really played them. Why don't we just go back to the beginning and just go in publishing order? So every session, we declare what year and month it is. So our first session, it was January of 1974, and we introduced the OD&D 3 little brown books that I have. And we've just been stepping through time. Every session, we just go to the next published thing and declare what month it is. And we've been introducing strategic reviews and Dragon magazines. Anything that's in it, any of the published stuff is live and available for the players to use. So all the classes that they added across the strategic reviews and early Dragon magazines, we introduced. And this gradient line is where we are right now. So we're up to March of 1982 tomorrow morning, where we'll advance it to April. And I try to, for the most part, I've had all the books up to now. There's been one. I had a different version of the Fighting Wheel, not this original one that's like $800 or whatever if you buy it on eBay. I have the Dragon magazine one that's a little cheaper. So yeah, I made this just so I could understand kind of what order everything came out in, and a few of those surprises to me were I kind of didn't realize that Forgotten Realms came out after Dragonlance. I always felt like Forgotten Realms was sort of always there, but it was it was a little bit later in the timeline. I didn't know anything about the Odyssey series. I didn't know that existed until I did this timeline. That was the sort of one of the last campaign settings that they introduced that I had really never heard of. The Birthright books too, which I have started collecting now. So yeah, it's been a fun exercise to just see all of the stuff. And yeah, you can go to the URL that's in the chat and you can check that out right now. I'll show you the newest one I've started on that's pretty early on. I'm doing kind of the same thing for the artists of D&D now. I'll have to add a link for that, but I'm essentially going through every book and ripping out every image and crediting the person that drew it. So I'm not that far along. I'm through all the OD&D books already and onto some of the Holmes and some of the supplements. But yeah, we've got stuff from Dave Arneston, Ernie Gygax is in here, Tramp. Yeah, I don't have a picture of Deborah Larson. If anyone has a picture of what she looks like, I would love to add it to this. And Tom Keogh. How do you pronounce that, by the way? I don't even know.
It's Keogh.
Keogh, right on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just been cool to just sort of examine and credit the artists for everything. And there's been some confusion. There's someone I don't know, who did these maps in the original Wilderness and Adventure. They're kind of uncredited. So yeah, there's a little work to do still to figure out some of these.
Yeah, DJ, that reminds me of something that I think is good. Speaking of original D&D artists, so the cover of my book is actually done by Darlene, who has done several books. But Darlene's going to be a guest at Page, and I'll be there as well. So if anyone's interested in getting signed by both of us, I would just bring a copy with and track us down.
Oh, amazing, wonderful, yeah, Darlene's rad.
So DJ, this is pretty. It's a pretty amazing database.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of time to put it together.
Well, you can tell it's a labor of love. Now, going from one labor of love to another. If we look here, let's see. I don't know if you can see that, but here's Matt's book, A Gathering of Gamers, and Matt, is it available now, or is it?
No, the book is coming out soon. I don't have a hard release date, but it's going to be late August or sometime in September.
And you'll probably have copies of it at the convention too, right? I'm assuming.
I mean, I'll probably bring some with, but I don't have a booth. I'm not a vendor or anything like that. So It's something I can talk to Ron about, and we can figure it out. I'm sure.
I listen. I'm sure we can set up a table for you, and have certain signing times there.
Yeah, sure.
Not a worry at all. Not a worry at all. It's not like anybody can complain that you're competing with their products, because it's your product, right?
Yeah.
So.
Uh-oh. You're virtual slap on the back. We lost Ron. Oh no.
Usually it's Ed that's the one coughing. Well, while Ron is recovering,
had some water go down the wrong pipe there.
Okay, all right.
Whew.
Don't drown in your hotel room.
No.
Who's the famous person who drowned in their hotel room? Was it Jim Morrison?
Yeah.
The guy that did the Hallelujah song, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah, I do think Jim Morrison did drown in his hotel room as well, if I remember correctly. If not, Jimi Hendrix as well. But I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
So, DJ, I was wondering, are you planning on doing timelines for any other games?
No, I'm not. Just Dungeons and Dragons. My game room back there is exclusively Dungeons and Dragons. I don't have books from any other game in there. It's 100% D&D. I do in this other room have a bunch of other games that I care about, and like from Warhammer to Pathfinder and Car Wars and Chill and all kinds of other stuff. But yeah, no, just my interest is just going back to childhood, pretty specifically D&D.
It must be awesome to relive all of that.
Yeah, it has been. I'll show you also my this is my D&D room at the house, and it's helped me fight the hardest boss of all, the scheduling boss. You put together a cool D&D room, makes it pretty easy to get players. You just put a picture of that in your local gaming group, and people want to come play in a cool
it's
space.
Interesting you say that, because I've got a game room with, I don't know, 20,000 painted miniatures in it, and pretty much have everything you need to play. Anybody coming to run a game, if they say, well, do you have a disenchanter? As a matter of fact, we have two. I got a horde of giant rats. Well, I've got 300 painted. How many do you need? How big of a horde is it? So yeah, it does make it a little easier, because people walk in and they're like, wow, this is pretty overwhelming, and they find it interesting. Though sometimes they get distracted by poking around, so that's great there.
Related to that too, as sort of I'm sort of doing this history over time too. I'm aiming to have, as we're pushing through the modules over time. So we're on our fourth one now. We started with Palace of the Vampire Queen, because there were no TSR published adventures for OD&D. So Palace of the Vampire Queen was the first published one. And then we did Caverns of Thracia. We did a little Judges Guild stint, since they were kind of important in early D&D days. But we did G1 and now G2. And I've tried to have, before the session, painted miniatures for every room in those modules we've gone into. And the first one that was kind of tricky to pull off was in G1, Steading of the Hill Giant Chief in the basement. There is the prisons, and there's like 80 orcs.
Yes.
If you like open a couple, there's 80 orcs at once. So I'm like, okay, I need 80 orc miniatures. So yeah, I have that now. And in G2, there are a lot of frost giants. There's like I don't know,
Mhm.
40 or something, and so that took a little bit of a budget to.
Now, do
Yeah,
you have a
well-
lot of terrain?
So I have some terrain. Yeah, we largely play. I'm doing kind of a weird mix of old school and new school. So if you can see, I don't think my share is up anymore, but in my D&D room, I have a table which I built myself, and a 60-inch TV embedded in it. So I have scanned the maps for, say, Caverns of Thracia, and so that's one of the really cool things is that I just put them in Roll20. Most people use Roll20 to play online. I use it as my virtual board for the players
That's
live in the
awesome.
room. So on my laptop, I've got the DM's view, and on the table, they've got the player's view, so they don't see the like Fog of War maps. But yeah, I do have. I'll show you. Someone's saying show the turtle castle. I'll show you one of my cooler.
Yeah, I have to say, like DJ, I love going back and playing through old modules kind of as they were released. It's one of my gaming goals. I might have to wait until I hit retirement age is to play through every AD&D module in release order, kind of up at least through second edition. It's probably a pipe dream, but we'll see if I can do that. And that is a very cool model, DJ.
Yeah, thank you. Loot Studios. I painted it. So in this process, we've taken a couple tangents into chainmail. We did a few chainmail rounds, and I had the Turtle Castle show up on the battlefield. But yeah, Matt, that is essentially what we're doing. We're playing through them just in order. We're 3 years in now and 4 modules in. So I think, and there's, I think I have a spreadsheet with a count. There's like 1,000 modules in 1E and 2E, 800, 1,000. It's like around there. It's just so many. Well, I don't, I don't know that it's possible to get through them, but I'm doing AD&D on Saturdays, and I'm doing basic D&D on Thursday night. So I'm kind of got a dual track. We're going through them in separate days. Yeah.
You know, DJ, if you're ever looking to get your hands on physical copies moving forward, especially some of the rare stuff that you can't grab, I'm a pretty good resource for that because I've got every first and second edition, basic, whether it's BX or BCMI module ever produced. So if you're ever looking for something, you just let me know and I'll lend it to you.
Yeah, I can say Ron is great to get stuff through. I mean, me as a historian has led me to be a collector as well. I've been lucky enough to get every module that was printed for AD&D, and yeah, there's a lot of them, DJ. That is for sure. But yeah, you can go down a deep dark rabbit hole when you start collecting that stuff. That is for sure.
There was a while when I was involved in a love triangle with DJ and his wife, but it was only because I was supplying DJ with my extra AD&D and D&D adventures that I had lying around, and he was buying so many that I think she got jealous at one point and told him he had to stop. I guess she does the finances, but it's a ton of fun and something to consider. DJ and even Matt, we have Bob Watts who's going to be at Page, and Bob Watts is of course from Eastern PA, former CEO of Grenadier, Heartbreaker. He was the CEO of Ralpartha, GW North America. I mean, he's seen it all. WizKids, he was with WizKids for a long time as well, but the interesting history of and it's something that is a keen interest to me, of officially licensed D&D 25 or 28 millimeter miniatures over the years, whether it was minifigs or Grenadier, later, second edition, it was Ralpartha. Citadel had the line for a little bit, and there are some pretty cool old officially licensed D&D miniatures out there, and it takes a while. It took me a while to chase them all down because some of them, especially the GW models, are extremely hard to get a hold of because there were so many variants to each model type. But I was able to do that, and I had a great time collecting those and making sure it was collection was complete. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but Citadel produced Norkers, the cousins of hobgoblins kind of thing, from I believe, I don't know, I think they were in the Fiend Folio.
Folio, I think it's Fiend Folio
or Monster Manual 2. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I have an entire Norker tribe of those models painted from the mid '80s, and it includes like 30 different variants of Norkers. Ones that were barely even produced for sale, and a lot of. I have an incredible amount of joy when I complete something like that as a collector. Those Norkers are one of the favorite things on my shelves, and and they're very good looking miniatures. I mean, they look like as originally drawn when they first appeared. The models are outstanding. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues you can go down within the history of gaming. You can get lost in rabbit holes for sure for a long time, but I think it's a joy that every gamer shares to some extent. That they're particularly proud of what they have in their collection, or or striving to complete a collection. So.
Well, that's true. I mean, there's so many games that we have that we're like, we play them and we're like, oh, this is great. Let's purchase it. And then it just sits on the shelf and we don't play it because there's no time, because there's so many. Can't get to them all.
Yeah, that's a board game thing for sure. I look at what our own Becca Swesney has, and she and they and their husband, they really have a lot of board games, and they don't always get to them. So many of them sit on the shelves in shrink wrap, and that carries over into miniature collecting as well. You have a lot of things like, oh yeah, I can't wait to paint that, and I'm turning 55 next month, and I know there's things that I'm not, I'm going to run out of time before I get them all painted.
Yeah. No, it's tough. I mean, like I not only play, D&D and use miniatures for that, but I also like playing a lot of miniature games. I'm a big proponent of the Lord of the Rings, or the Middle-earth strategy battle game by Games Workshop. And I just started getting into Star Wars Shatterpoint and trying to find time to paint all of these things. It's a losing battle, but the games are fun.
Yeah. You should start collecting Warhammer 40K minis, Matt.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Oh, I've just started doing that. I got into Age of Sigmar.
No.
Like, I'm not too into sci-fi, but Age of Sigmar is like back in high school I played Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game. I thought it was such a cool setting, and like the rules were kind of amazing, and I've always kind of longed for it. So Age of Sigmar is the newest incarnation of that. It's the fantasy flavored Warhammer mini battle game. So yeah, I've got a Deepkin army going now.
Anyone I've ever met that has been into the Warhammer stuff, whether it's Sigmar or 40K, it's time sink and money pit is what I've always been told, which is why I've been kind of.
But isn't that with anything that you love?
Yeah, but apparently it's the baggage with that is substantial.
Listen, it pales in comparison to owning a boat. When you talk about money pits, it's boats are money pits. But it's interesting. I recently picked up an unplayed copy of the original Warhammer Quest with all of the expansions, including the extra characters, and I'm dying to put together a campaign of that, because of course, the characters get better, you see some growth, but it's so visual and right in front of you. Looking to have some fun with that. Oh, look, this is important. I'm putting this up on the screen. There you go. Thank you, Elise. One of our vendors and sponsors, Thunderstruck Workshop. Just don't start a business specializing in painted terrain. You'll never have time for your own stuff again. And why we're bringing that up, Mike. You're not churning out the painted stuff I need in a timely fashion. We have to have a talk offline. I really want to, get you back online, getting me some painted stuff. Like, you gave me that snail god, and he's unpainted, so now I'm forced to paint him. And not that I mind, but I only have a couple 100,000 models in front of it on my bench to paint. So.
All right. Well, that was a really good conversation, actually, I think, from everyone's standpoint. Do we have any other additional questions from the audience for either DJ or Matt? If you do, please type them out in chat so we can get them to either or both, because we are likely going to let them go somewhat soon.
Can I show off one thing I'm excited about
Yes.
for Page? If I could share screen again. I recently made a custom Siege of Bodenberg table and had Ronan, another Page special guest, down to my house to play it with me. For those that are not familiar with the Siege of Bodenberg, it is kind of the precursor to the precursor to the precursor of D&D. So the story goes, and this is a fun way to learn about it. There's a documentary called 50 Years of Chainmail that kind of talks about the Siege of Bodenberg and how it led to chainmail and how that led to D&D. But if you guys can put up the share, I've got a picture of it up right now. So the Siege of Bodenberg was published and I think was played in the first Gen Con. And at the time, Gary Gygax and a lot of the guys were doing, military wargaming. This was one of the first fantasy war games that had gone on at the time. The rules were published in a zine, and this kind of led to then Jeff Perrin and Gary Gygax creating Chainmail after they played this. They're like, okay, well, this is a fun fantasy version of wargaming, and then they made theirs. So it's kind of pivotal to the history of D&D becoming created. And the 12 or so page PDF is the rule set and the scenario and the board itself. So I've hand built my own custom table. I own the same exact model of castle that they used, back in the 70s, an Elastolan figure from Germany. And I am bringing this table with me to Page. I am driving up this time, the 12-hour drive with this in the back of the car. And it's going to be set up. I'm going to be running a how-to session first thing Friday morning, and then it will be just set up the whole convention. I'm running my Curse of Macho Man Randy Strahd game on Friday and Sunday, and then a couple of Dragonlance games I wrote on Saturday. But come check it out. Learn how to play the Siege of Bodenberg on a pretty cool table. That's one thing
I can say the Siege of Bodenberg, as DJ said, was very important. I write about it in the book, particularly because it was found by Gygax and Perrin at Gen Con. As he said, that they kind of fell in love with it and went on to make Chainmail. But I've played the scenario about 2 or 3 times in the past. I also have one of those Elastolan castles. It's a very cool thing, and it's a great time capsule to play the Siege of Bodenberg and see exactly what kind of inspired these people to play these games in the 60s. You got to remember, back in the 1960s, people weren't playing video games. So looking at these Alaskland castles and the models they had, that was like looking at like the high-powered graphics of the day and seeing what really gets people into these games.
Yeah.
So doing something like this is really pretty special, DJ.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I will say, DJ, you know what I find fascinating about the work that you do is that you do very tactile, hands-on construction, modeling, building, painting, that kind of a thing. But then you also work very heavily in the video game industry as well. And I think a lot of people might think that one may gravitate toward the other versus something else and be comfortable in one realm and maybe, dabble their toes in the other or not at all. And I feel like, you jump from deep pool to deep pool back and forth quite easily. Like you're very comfortable in both worlds, like a very 3D tactile world and then, of course, a virtual world as well. Does that kind of am I right or wrong?
Yeah, that resonates with me for sure. I think being on a computer all day making video games, it makes me really appreciate sitting down at a table with a paintbrush and a miniature and a saw and doing like physical stuff with your hands. So yeah, and I think like my video game background, I worked on Halo. I was the head of effects on the Call of Duty games for about a decade. Even though I love these like old school, very early primitive flavors of D&D, I really love OD&D. But yeah, bringing that sort of high production value like video game sensibility to the room, right? I have music. I got a soundboard to trigger. So I have voice filtering, so I can do gnome voices and ogres and dragons and stuff. I try to like elevate and having the maps out there with beautiful map artwork for the minis to like run around on. Yeah, it's definitely like a weird blend of like the old and the new together. And my video game background certainly has.
Can you expand on that a little more? Like, how has your work impacted your the lens that you view D&D and how you play the game?
Yeah. So I think like one thing that is the same in being a video game effects artist and playing D&D is like the descriptions that you do. Like when we're making a COD game and it's a Call of Duty game, you're kind of like a little kid. You're like, okay, and then what if the train it gives a thing and then the trunk goes into it and it starts rolling, it takes out the pill, like all of this stuff that you're using your hands and you're describing it and you get excited and like you're a little kid playing with toy cars and stuff. And we do that in D&D too, right? All right, you attack with a sword, you roll a 15, and then me, the DM, sort of goes into that childlike mind of like describing what that action and dice roll becomes, right? The goblin is pulling his arrow back and he's stretching it. He's got a bead on your head and you're just charging him. You duck under the last minute. You slide between his legs, pop up behind him, and stick your blade right through his back, pull it out, and he can't breathe as the blood goes squirting out. That kind of thing, right? That is that's something that I've taken from one to the other pretty fluidly. And it's affected my style of DMing. I think I get very visual and yeah, I feel like you said, like I like to have lots of physical props there and just make it very, very visual.
That's great. And that really adds to the immersion.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, Matt, how about you? How has your work impacted how you play the game?
Oh, I mean, it impacts it quite a bit, particularly from board gaming aspects. So in my day job, I'm a librarian at Temple University. We actually do a lot of things with games, particularly with education. And in fact, I'm working with Temple University Press right now to publish games with researchers. In faculty members, things like that have an educational, creative, or pedagogical use that they can use in whether it's a board game, an RPG, whatever. So a lot of that impacts it, and it impacts a lot of the games that I've made through my publishing company. For example, the last game that I published was called The Red Burnous, which is about the colonization of Algeria back in 1857, about the last people who were conquered by the French back then. And I try to look at games at different angles about what games can teach people through play. And I think I've been successful. I mean, that game got nominated for a Charles S. Roberts Award. So, I take that as a lot of credit to the work that I put into some of the game designs and work that I've done. And it's also informed kind of the histories that I write as well, and kind of the aspects and angles that I look at. What stories are we trying to tell through the games we've played in the past through today?
Wow. Yeah. Congratulations on your award. That's great.
Yeah, it was a nomination. I didn't win it, but yeah, I'll take that. So,
it's interesting you mentioned that because, as a young person, I played a lot of diplomacy, and that really, it sets the stage for World War I, right? I mean, it was something that a young person could. It was a different way of getting interested in the history of World War I. Knowing more about it, and that really came through. That really resonated with me back then. We have a few questions here. They're not necessarily direct. Anthony says, if he's ever missing, check Ron's basement. I'm chained down there painting miniatures. You got a response that says, well, we have to see how good of a miniature painter you are first. Knucklebones asks, what artist did the cheesesteak mimic, and does it have a name? So to answer that question quickly, the original appearance of Phil E. Cheesesteak was actually drawn by Roger Huntman, the author. He put Phil in the hands of an unsuspecting gamer at a game table who was getting ready to take a bite out of him without realizing that Phil suddenly had a face and teeth and was getting ready to punch him with an appendage. But the general Phil that you see most often, and the basis for the 3D printed miniatures that we sell of Phil, that came from an artist named Joe Garcia, who I believe is a comic book artist by trade, from the West Coast. Good guy, does good work. He also did the drawing of that we use for when that has the light, people who look amazingly similar to Frank Menser, Michelle Doolin, Rocky Balboa, Ben Franklin, and Phil E. Cheesesteak all around the table playing D&D, and the kind of tagline to it is at Page, it's where friends gather to adventure. He also did that for us, but good guy, reasonable rates. Was very happy with the work he did for us. So we'll likely be using him in the future. And of course, Chet Minton has done 3 or 4 different iterations of Phil, including our T-shirt logo. Can't say enough great things about how important Chet is as an artist for Page. But other artists have drawn versions of Phil as well. Jeff D. Recently did some art that included Phil. Stan Brown, the cartoonist, has done a few Phil images. We've had a lot of fun with Phil. I think Phil appeared in. You had an artist do something with Phil, right, DJ? It was an elf maiden eating a cheesesteak, and it turned out to be Phil.
What? Wait, what was that? I haven't done.
No, you didn't, but I think you had an artist do one back before Page 1.
Oh yeah. That's right. the demons that we end up not using.
As we go through here, there's another question here real quick. Steve Heinen asks, can someone give a general overview of the Page mini campaign adventures and the final game? Steve, I'm going to say to be continued on that. That is really Ed Stark's baby. And, Phil, unless you're comfortable talking about it, I mean, I think it's better left to Ed to go through that.
If Ed was here, he could give you a lot more details, but in an extremely rough outline sense, it is a few original 5e adventures that will be run in conjunction with Whiz Kids minis and terrain. And I believe there are three original adventures, and then there is a finale on Sunday. And all you have to do is play in one of those in order to potentially qualify to play on Sunday. And I believe qualifying means being randomly chosen, quite honestly. But so it's 4 total, but 3 that will have multiple iterations of it being run, sessions of it. So what the adventures are about, I do not know.
I think we've discovered the identity of Knucklebones. I believe he's artist Joe Garcia himself. I'm not sure, but I'm guessing. Daniel Lawrence. When we talk about history, you want to talk about somebody. He's also on our staff, and I think he's a foremost dice expert out there. I don't think anybody knows the history of dice as well as Daniel, and he brings a very interesting seminar to Page called Treasures at the Bottom of Your Dice Bag. It's basically Antiques Roadshow for gaming dice, where he'll go through your dice bag and identify what you have and who made it and when it was made and if it has any value to it. And it's very interesting, and we love what Daniel brings to the table. So, Anthony, going big and playful with the DMing flair is the only way to go. DJ, your Dragonlance game at Page 2 was hilarious and dramatic. All right, we got some other. Let's see if we have any other questions. This is Anthony and DJ slobbering each other up with praise. If we were at a city council meeting, they'd be thanking each other for their leadership on that issue, right, Phil?
Yes.
There we go. Dan, attempt 1, acquire full set of Gen Con 2012. Ended up with 2 extra nearly complete sets. There are no dice I'm currently looking for, but if someone wants to trade, well, we do have, Matt, we do have a dice trading event at Page.
We do, yes.
Yes, we do. Yeah. There was some serious dice trading going on at that thing last year. In fact, I managed to snag some Zaz dice there last year. So I was very excited about that. Steve, you're welcome.
Ed Lopez has a question, it looks like, for DJ.
Hold on. I don't know. I don't know if that's real or not.
I think we're getting some spam from Twitch.
We're getting spam from Twitch. Is that what that is?
I think so.
No, he says no, he's not Joe Garcia. He just needs artwork. I'll put you in touch with Joe. We've got a question for DJ from Ed Lopez. Do your players use miniatures on the screen, or do you control all the tokens on Roll20?
Yeah, good question. If you don't mind showing my screen share again, I can kind of illustrate how it works a little bit. So I've
You're
got
putting a lot of pressure on me as the producer of this program with all these screen shares, but let me see what I can do.
all the AVs. So the players are sitting around the table, and I've got a digital map up, and yeah, they just put their minis on the TV. I've got a plexiglass screen hovering over it, so their minis aren't directly on the TV. And then the cool thing is, on my laptop, I can see the map and zoom in separately. And then as they move around the hallways, rather than them like moving their miniatures around, the TV, I just have them put them right in the middle generally. And if they just say they're moving south down the hallway, I can kind of pan the map out from under them, so it kind of feels like they're walking down the hallway. That's basically it. And then on my little DM screen, you can see here on the laptop, I can kind of, drag select to reveal, like when they say they open a door, I'll reveal the next room, and then they can kind of like move their mini. I'll put the enemy minis in there. If there's beds or furniture or whatever, I'll put that sort of terrain stuff out on to the table, and then they can sort of move their minis where they want in combat. So it's just nice that you don't have to like draw it with dry erase and then erase it and draw the next thing. Just kind of the whole map's out there, and I can kind of pan it and zoom it around out from under them and just reveal parts of it as they explore.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We have some notes here. Daniel Lawrence says, all those characters stapled to the ceiling, are they dead characters? If so, that's fantastic. And I think it's safe to say they are dead characters. We have a door in my gaming room, like an internal door to another room in the building that is covered with dead characters as well. We have a note here from Savannah, Georgia Code Enforcement. It says there's no ceiling in that room, meaning it's not to code. We will be stopping by your house on Monday at 9 a.m.
Amazing. By the way, if anyone cares to watch us play tomorrow to see how it works in this room on this table, our weekly 1E game is Saturday from noon to 4 Eastern time. My undertone_DJ is what you would type into Twitch to watch us. And yeah, those are dead characters on the ceiling. There's about twice as many now. There's north of 40, 50. When we were playing OD&D in the early levels, that game is brutal. Like we averaged 2 dead player characters a session. Was pretty typical. We had one player die 3 times in one session. It was our record. And I had to make 2 characters to start so that when their first one died, they would be ready to jump in with their next character. We put a 20-minute timer on. Your new character spawns in 20 minutes after your last one died.
Oh, that sounds like one of my games. We had a character that died 6 times in a single game.
Man. Brutal.
And normally when that happens in my games, it's in an attempt to dissuade the player from coming back. But, he keeps coming back to the game. So.
Oh, he's like that cat.
I'm not going to mention any names, but
he's like the cat that always comes back.
Well, we like cats. All right. So, from the audience, time flies when we're having fun. We're over an hour into the program now.
Yes.
Let's get last questions for Matt and DJ before we let them go. And, before we let them go, not only are we going to ask any final questions, but we're going to give them an opportunity to kind of promote what they each have going on one last time. So if you got anything out there, throw it in there. Oh, look, it's Wes Allen, the egg thief, has checked in. Wes, welcome to the program. we will be having a formal trial at Page about your involvement in the theft of those eggs at EcclesiaCon, and it's my star witness Anthony Simeone is here, and we're going to have police on hand to take you away to jail if there's an issue. Okay, DJ, what video game are you working on right now? That's a question from the crowd.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. My company I own a video game effects company. We get hired by studios. So right now, we've got about 18 people. We're working on about 6 games. We're on Diablo 4, Destiny 2, a new Deadpool game, Deadpool VR by Meta. We are on a Wu-Tang Clan video game.
That sounds horrible.
What would be the premise of the Wu-Tang Clan video?
You can see the trailer. It's on right now. Wu-Tang Clan: Rise the Deceiver is the name.
I'm not sharing that screen. We're not sharing that screen. But go ahead.
And I can't really talk about it yet, but I am starting my own video game. Not me, but me and some other people, one of which might be in the stream, have started working on a thing that is not announced. We can't really talk about it yet, but it may be along the lines of my special interests. But yeah, excited to talk about more of that in the future when the time comes.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I don't see any last questions for Matt. Matt, do you want to leave us with anything about your book before we let you go?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just there was a link put in chat for it. But if you want to be notified when it's finally released, which again, it should be out within the next 4 to 8 weeks, you can sign up either on my publisher's website, which is playstorypress.org, or I also have a sign up on my company's website, which is with hitamwithashoe.com. And if you want to get a kind of taste of what kind of like this work is like, I recently did a project for Gamma for Origins 50th anniversary, covering that convention's history that you can see at origins50.org. If you want to give that out, I did a whole bunch of oral histories and did a mini 5,000 word write-up about Origins history as well that you can see. But other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing you all at Page. I'll talk to Ron, but hopefully I'll have some copies of the book there. People can pick it up if they don't want to order it in advance. And like I said, Darlene did the cover and she'll be there and I'll be there. And I'm sure we'd both be happy to talk to you about it in person.
So that's awesome. It's going to be great to see Darlene there this year. This will be her first time as a guest at Page. Really excited about that. All right. Well, thank you. And DJ, you have anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah. 2 things. One, I'm proud to say I am now a published D&D author. My first adventure that I've written has been published. I'm published in a compilation adventure that was a tribute to Janelle Jaquays called Return to Parenthos. I am one of the contributing authors for that. And if anyone wants to hang out tomorrow night, I am also an improv performer. We've got a D&D themed improv set tomorrow night, 7:00 Eastern time. It's called WizProv. It's at Front Porch Improv here in Savannah, and it is streamed online. So I just put a link in the chat if anyone wants to check it out. I don't know, it's like $6 or something to watch the show tomorrow night at 7.
All right. Where's the link in the chat? I don't see that.
The YouTube thread is a little behind our internal one, but it's I'll just tell you, it's crowdwork.com/e/wizprov.
Spelled. Right, that's too long. We'll wait until it populates. All right. Well, Matt and DJ, thank you so much for coming on. We'd like to get with you again. We still have 6+ months until we get the Page. And Matt, why don't we plan on bringing you back to the show once you know the release date of the book, so we can help get that word out.
All right. Happy to be back. I was happy to be here this time. I'm always happy to come back.
All right. Well, thank you, fellas. We're going to circle back to some of our normal business, but, have a nice night, and we appreciate you coming on. And we'll talk to you later.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate both of you.
Okay. So, Phil?
Yes. So I'm going to ask Ron. I'm specifically going to ask you for your patience, because it's been 2 weeks since we've done a show. It's been 3 weeks since I've done a show. So we have some very important things to let our viewers know about if they haven't been paying attention to all of the posts that go out, especially on Facebook. If you're not paying attention, you have missed some very, very, very important things. Registration totals are rolling along, folks. People are getting their badges. If you have not, for whatever crazy reason, have not gotten your badge yet, what are you waiting for? Get on phillygamingexpo.com, grab the badge, and join the gang. Event submissions are still open. So if you are hankering to submit something, or if you've gotten some things in and you want to add one more session or what have you, eventually that window will close. And so you need to be cognizant of that and get them to us. For our gold badge holders,
real quick, Phil.
Sure.
To that point, I think we have listed October 3rd as the cutoff date for events. We will 100% be cutting events off before that. We're not, we're going to be, I'm not going to say at capacity, but at the comfortable capacity the capacity that we're going to be comfortable with. We want to leave plenty of space for open gaming. It's
right.
We're way ahead of where we were last year, events wise. Almost double at this point. So.
Yeah, and that number is in the 700s, folks. So that's a lot of events for you to choose from, and the quality of the events that are coming in, the quality of the events that are currently on the events calendar is amazing. I mean, there are some extremely obscure games coming in, historically obscure role-playing games coming in, current very small indie games coming in. We have people that are submitting events that really know their stuff, that want to get other people to be exposed to these types of things. And so I don't know how people choose. I mean, maybe I'll get lucky and play a game or two myself. I haven't even really thought about anything that I could get myself into, full well knowing that I'll probably be very busy during the con. But it's very tempting. But nonetheless, gold badge holders, if you're out there, if you have not chosen your events yet, or you still want to add more events, I would hop in soon, because on July 13th, the next round of events. People that can choose their events, that's staff, volunteers, GMs, 4-day badge holders, special guests, and vendors will be choosing their events on the 13th. And for everyone else, single-day badge holders, that will be July 22nd. All of those dates, the portal opens at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So be ready with your trigger finger if you fall into those different categories. And again, gold badge holders, get on there and pick your games. Let's see.
Real quick, we talked about the historical significance of the modules and what years they came out, and there's a lot of history that we cover at Page, whether it be dice, whether it be miniatures, whether it be creators, artists. A lot of history passes through our auction. And but running A1 through 4 with 3 of the 4 original authors, I mean, those games sold out, and A1 was sold out in 5 seconds. 5 seconds. So if you're a staffer, a GM, a 4-day badge holder, a special guest, be ready tomorrow night, because people are going to be jabbing away at those keys, and there's 3 times the number, almost 4 times the number of other badge holders that are going to enter the fray as gold badge holders did on the 3rd. So you can imagine how quick these games are going to go, and there's still some great ones. We also want to remind you that as you're filling out your schedule, if you have an hour gap, a 2-hour gap here or there, take a look at the seminars and panels and workshops that we have. They'll fill those times nicely, but also take a look at Down the Dark Stairwell, our Shadow Dark mega event. We can confirm that Kelsey Dion, Professor Dungeon Master, Mike Shea, Baron Durop, Justin Alexander, they're all going to be involved with running that game, along with our volunteers that are led by Anthony Simeone, who are going to be running that game. And come play for an hour, come play all weekend, come 5 times throughout the weekend when you have time. But that's something you can fill your time by going back to that game and starting on the next hour that starts, and it's free. I mean, we want you to get the tickets so we can keep head counts, but ultimately it's a free event, and it's going to be running all weekend. Sorry about that, Phil. Go ahead.
That's okay. Folks, if you're watching us on YouTube, we have started to push out some shorter content, not just our Friday Night Live content. So Ron and I have pushed out videos about 3 things that we'd like you to know about Paige. You can catch those on the YouTube channel. And we dropped a video yesterday from Kelsey, speaking of Kelsey, one of our special guests, of course, the creator of Shadow Dark, about why she's excited about Paige as well. So you're going to see more of those videos, those more short form videos coming out that are a couple of minutes, so you can find out more. You can get jazzed up about Paige. You can listen to the special guests talk about Paige and what they're doing there, and staff, as well, as we continue to get further and further into the summer and into the fall. So look out for that. There was a very important post that Ron put up on Facebook about a host of changes coming for Page 3 that you probably want to know about. For instance, there's going to be an on-site print center at Page for those GMs that need character sheets or maps or some other sort of something that they need printed out, and that is a major improvement, I feel. There's going to be an on-site shipping center. So if you're someone that has come from far away, you don't have a car, you're flying, you've bought a lot of stuff at the vendor's hall, and you need it shipped, we're going to have an on-site shipping solution for you there. Lounges for special guests, lounges for staff, GMs will be available as well. So if you fall into those categories, there'll be a place where you can kind of decompress, get a little something to drink, get a little something to eat perhaps, and talk to other GMs, staff, or special guests. And we're really happy to be able to offer that to those folks. Interview booth. We are going to have a dedicated interview booth, and we are going to have a rolling schedule of interviews that are going to unfold. Jeff McAleer, who was a guest here from the Gaming Gang earlier on in the spring, will be doing interviews. Our own Jenn Cash will be doing interviews, and Wes Allen will also be doing interviews as well. And we're really excited for that. So if you like listening to what people have to say while the con's going on, we're going to be pushing those out. And I always love those con interviews where you can hear the buzz of the con in the back, and you really get jazzed and excited about it. Seminars and panels will be held in quieter areas. As for Page 1 and Page 2, there was some difficulty sometimes hearing whether you are playing a game nearby as a panel was going on. So to cut down on those cross noise pollution sort of situations happening, the panels and seminars will not be, the sounds from them will not be infiltrating into the gaming areas as well. And so we're really excited about that as well. If you haven't noticed, folks, when we last did a live stream, I think it was 2 weeks ago with Frank Menser, he made a very important announcement about a new gaming company he's launching, Temporal Studios. And he announced it here on Friday Night Live here. We got the scoop, and there's a shorter announcement video that was released where we kind of cut it and edited it down. If you want to hear Frank talk about that, you want to hop onto the YouTube channel, go to the videos. You'll easily see it. It was only, I think, earlier in the week that was released. So take a look at that. Since last show, what special guests have been announced? We've had 4. That includes Justin Alexander, who is a game designer and publisher of So You Want to Be a Game Master, that came out, I believe, 2 years ago. It was a New York Times bestseller. He runs the website The Alexandrian. Justin was with us for Page 2. He's a fantastic individual. He's running a number of panels at Page 2. And Ron had already mentioned the fact that he's going to be running some of the Shadow Dark Mega event sessions. Brian Shutter, our good friend Brian Shutter, the designer of Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland. Brian was with us for 1 and 2. He's going to be coming back. He's a solid dude. You should check out Neon Lords. It's a gonzo crazy RPG, and if you're into that sort of stuff, Brian would really appreciate your support. Chris Pramis, founder of Green Ronin Publishing, will be joining us. We are extremely excited to have Chris join us, and I am going to mention it now. I know, Ron, you did a little post of it earlier today. Not to get into all the dirty details, but companies like Green Ronin, Roll for Combat, Stephen Klicker's company, and others are right in the midst of a pretty messy debacle having to do with Diamond Distributors' bankruptcy situation, where a lot of their stock is held up in consignment, and Green Ronin is asking for some help financially for folks to donate to a GoFundMe for their legal fund to try to get their money back. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product. So please support that if you can, and check it out on Facebook. Ron made a post, and I've seen a lot of content creators today make posts about it. So please check that out. And lastly, Keith Baker, creator of the Eberron campaign setting that came out for the 3rd edition of D&D. He will be joining us. We're really excited to have him. He's also the creator of a card game called Gloom, and he co-owns 2 Together Studios with his wife, Jenn. And that is it. So there you go. I got it all out.
All right. Well, we're going to take a look here real quick at Kelsey's announcement here. I'm sharing it.
Hey you all, this is Kelsey from the Arcane Library. I am the creator of Shadow Dark RPG, and I'm very excited to be attending PageCon this winter in 2026. I will see you guys there. I'm really looking forward to getting to run Shadow Dark games for everybody, and I know there's a big special surprise in the works for a big ongoing Shadow Dark dungeon adventure of some kind. And I don't want to totally ruin the surprise, but it's going to be something like you've never seen before, and I cannot wait to get to participate in that and see the whole thing coming true before my eyes. So I will see you guys at the con, and if you spot me there, don't hesitate to say hi, and I am really looking forward to such a small, intimate convention that has so many of the peers I respect and the game designers I admire present at it. It's really a con like no other, and it's very special and one that I just can't recommend more highly. So I will see you guys there in January, and until then, happy gaming.
So, I mean, that was, oh, what happened here? All right. That was high praise indeed. And we really appreciate Kelsey for her kind words and words of support for the convention. You know, I can't add any more commentary. It spoke for itself. So feel very good about that. And look, subscribe to our YouTube channel and pay attention in the future, because many of our special guests are sending us these kinds of notes. And, as we receive them, we're going to get them out there for the world to see, because, the special guests, many of them look at Page as the convention they can come play at and have fun at, and be with their friends and contemporaries at, and that's a big deal, and I think it sets Page apart.
I agree with you, Ron. I mean, Page was my first out-of-state con, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, we were pleased to meet you there, and obviously you've become a big part of the Page family over the past 7 months, Jen, and we appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you guys.
Phil, what else do we have?
Well, we typically announce another special guest at the end of the show that we have not let folks know about yet. So, do you have anybody in mind?
Oh, Phil. It
was on the bottom of the run sheet.
Yeah, you didn't send a run sheet.
Yes, I did.
No, there was no.
I got it.
2 against 1.
I don't know, but hold on. Let's go to my bookmarks. Let's look at our voluminous list of special guests. And
I'm trying to see who we haven't announced yet.
Going through quite a few actually haven't been announced yet, but well, here's one we haven't announced yet. We kind of announced it last week, but not 100%. Not formally.
Okay.
And let's see. All right, line 65. I've got too many windows open, too long of a day, and we're going to hit the share button, and that's not the right one. No, that's not the right one. That's the right one. And there he is.
James Jackson
from the Tabletop Misfits. I was on the program this week. And he does tavern talks and a few other things, but he'll be coming up from Virginia, and you know what, the channel there has grown enough that he's going from a media pass to a special guest pass this year, and there he is. He's one of the biggest advocates for Page, and we appreciate James, and he's going to be in with the special guests this year. And there you can see him holding Big Phil there.
Yeah, I believe James was at GaryCon with me. I was at the bar very late, and I probably met James earlier on. I didn't know it, and someone came up, "You're Phil from Page," and just started slapping me on the back. I'm like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And it was James. He's a very nice guy, and we had a good chat. So Tabletop Misfits guys are good dudes. Very happy to have them. So, all right. Well, I'm looking. We're at an hour and 34 minutes. That's pretty long. So I think we should probably wind this train down. And it's 11 o'clock. And if Ed was here, he would Pumpkin City, man. He would be already. He'd be already falling out of his chair with a cat in his lap.
Yeah.
So.
You ever hear that song? I got a cat on my lap. You ever hear that?
There's a meme. I've seen a meme where a guy's like, he's like, I can't go to work today because I got a cat on my lap.
It's like a little video.
Yes.
A lot of fun. Let's do a couple things. One, we have a gift certificate from Frog God Games to give away. Our sponsors.
Okay.
The lovely and talented and potentially murderous Jennifer Glazer, and so we're going to give that away here quickly. And the other thing is, Wes, you're asking about paper donations. Yeah, we could use some paper for the print center. That would be a big help. So if you got a couple reams of paper you can donate, that would be awesome. Let's see. Who should we give a Frog God Games gift certificate to tonight?
What about Knucklebones? I was asking all the Joe Garcia questions.
If he's still in the chat, we can go with Knucklebones. Knucklebones, go ahead and send me your contact information at ron@phillygamingexpo.com, and we'll get you out we'll get you in touch with Frog God Games, and you'll get a $25 credit to their website. All right. So, all right, Jennifer, as is our tradition, why don't you take us out tonight?
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful evening and a great weekend. And if you have time and you're available at 10 a.m. tomorrow, I will be streaming on my channel, The Blind Bard. So check me out if you have a few minutes to spare. As always, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.